Does anyone recall an Aqua song about a Barbie girl in a Barbie world that goes like this? I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic is fantastic. So I wonder whether if Barbie is stuck on Pulau Ubin, will she think that life is that fantastic? So Pulau Ubin is an offshore island. Anyone who grew up in Singapore in the 80s, 70s, 90s would remember going to Pulau Ubin for camping trips, the outward bound school excursions, or any cycling activities. It's just a little ferry ride, a skip and a hop away from Singapore via ferry ride. You end up on this island which is actually rich in nature in terms of Chek Jawa, and lots of heritage and culture, because it's one of the islands with the oldest kampong in the area. There's also lots of shrines. There's this particular one that is dedicated to Dwapekong or Tutikong, and there's also granite quarries and stuff like that located. You know, you might also remember that when you were little and you told your mum that you had to go to outward bound school in Pulau Ubin, and when you came back and you told your grandmother about you being at outward bound or on Pulau Ubin Island itself, and she would say, "Oh God, did anyone fall off the bicycle when you're cycling," or things like that. And you remember, "Oh yeah, I seem to have been on the bicycle and someone just I felt a almost invisible push and I fell off the bicycle," and lots of people experienced that. So there are a couple of little haunting stories of Pulau Ubin, which we all would have shared or gossiped among our friends growing up, in the 70s, 80s or 90s in Singapore. So if one ventures off the beaten path to the southwestern part of Pulau Ubin, you'll chance upon this little shrine, which is about more than 100 years old. It's very similar to a Datuk Gong or a Datuk Kramat or Datuk Nenek. So I've done in my previous video Datuk Gong or Natu Gong is a male version, and Datuk Nenek is a female version, or Datuk Kramat, it could be like a weird shaped stone, or there's also Datuk Harimau, which is a tiger. But in this case, which is really off and strange, is a shrine dedicated to a German girl who's, and we'll go through the story about why, how this German girl became entombed and worshipped like a deity in this particular shrine for more than 100 years. And the shrine is actually named Natu Gunyang, because she was only about 17 or 18 when she passed away. So and then so we'll ask ourselves, so what does Barbie and a German girl have in common on Pulau Ubin? So the story goes way back in 1910. So that's before World War I. So World War I was between 1914 to 1918. So prior to that, the British actually has come on to the island and trying to root out, unfavorable nationalities and unfavorable characters, in this case German families. So there was a German family living on Pulau Ubin, and they owned the coffee plantation. Historical facts pointed to two different family names, the Mulligan as well as the Brent family, but sadly we can't quite identify the name of this particular girl, or to whose daughter does she belong, to the Brent or the Mulligan's family. So this particular plot of land is owned by one of them on historical records, but no one could tell her exact name, even though we know that the age was 17 to 18 years old, and it's around the time of 1910. So it's a coffee plantation. So when the war broke out, the British military were rounding up all the German families to intern them onto mainland, which is Singapore. And so on an August night, the family were being rounded up by the British. She broke away and she ran off, but unfortunately fell to her death in a granite quarry. She fell down the cliff and landed up in a granite quarry. The family were then carted off without her to be in an internment and detained on Singapore Island itself. So a couple of days later, her body was found by the plantation workers left behind by the German families. It was covered in ants and was quite horrible. Obviously, decay or decomposition would have already settled in on her poor body. She slipped and fell down on one August night and landed into the granite quarry. So it would have been a pretty horrible death in terms of how high the granite quarry would have been and how low did she fall down the ravine into. So the coffee plantation laborers found her, and out of respect they actually covered sand over her and laid flowers, prayers as a gesture of goodwill every time they passed the body. And over time some Chinese workers actually took a body and entombed it near the top of the granite quarry and created like a little shrine of some sort for her. It was said that in the start of things, the devotees or worshippers were few and far between. Even though they paid their respect for this German girl, maybe their families were nice to the plantation workers during that time when she was working. She might have been a really nice little one that that would maybe have a casual chat or things like that. The plantation workers might have remembered her, so they actually entombed her and gave her proper burial up on like a little hill near the quarry. So that's the start of where the temple is. And it's also said that the temple started with an urn, and it's got a lock of her blonde hair as well as the crucifix that she was wearing. But over time, because they had to reclaim that particular land, so the granite company that was supposed to exhume her remains and move her to further down, still in the same area but further down the dirt path, and built a new little shrine for her. They actually felt bad to actually have to exhume her remaining, so they did not donated this particular china urn, and there goes her supposedly her remains with the lock of hair and her crucifix. But then there were words or whispers that grave diggers and things like that have stolen the this urn because it was quite valuable, and replaced it with just some normal cheap ceramic one, and it's actually quite empty inside. So how did then Barbie come into this particular story on Pulau Ubin? So like I said, she might not think that it's that fantastic being on Pulau Ubin during this time, but so in about 2007 or so, there's this islander who used to live on Pulau Ubin has migrated to Australia, and for 3 nights in a row he had a little dream or vision of some sort. This girl, a young blonde girl, appeared to him in the dream asking for a particular doll from a particular store, and she wanted it to be enshrined or brought back to Pulau Ubin for her. So obviously, this guy, had the dream, and it's probably bustle, or like it's just a lie, like I'll not even bother about it. But he had the same dream 3 nights in a row. Particular doll, it's turned out to be a Barbie from a particular store in Australia, where he's from, and then to bring the doll back to Pulau Ubin. So he said, you know what, I'll just go out and look for it. If I can find this particular looking Barbie doll from a particular store that she did mention, if I find it, I'll bring it home to Pulau Ubin. And obviously he did. The exact same doll, the store that she mentioned in the dream, that vision. So he brought the Barbie doll back to Pulau Ubin in its box and encase it in like a little plastic sort of perspex. And from that day onwards, the worshippers just grew and grew. She seems to appear to be quite a powerful spirit. Not a deity of some sort, but more of a spirit that's trapped between time, so between, the living and the dead. And some people might call it an angel, but not like a deity or like a god like Tudikong, or like a hell deity like Hei Bai Wu Chang or Dua Diabik, or not like Sun Wukong or Qi Tian Da Shen or San Tai Zi Ne Zha, or Guan Yin Pusa, that those are godlike and godly deities. She's like an in-between angel of some sort. She's powerful enough in terms of being able to grant her worshippers some wishes or things like that. But then she doesn't fit in between, being a heaven deity or hell one. So lots of people start coming. Daily there are people who take the ferry from mainland of Singapore just to go to the shrine. It's obviously a mix of curiosity and real worshippers. There were also like reporters from different newspapers, people who like to, who probably blog about this particular place on Pulau Ubin. Some even adventurers who like to travel off the beaten path to the southwest side of the Pulau Ubin, which hands upon her particular shrine. Because she passed away so young, technically it was about 17 or 18, and she's a female deity or a female spirit or some sort. There are a couple of other doll spirits of some sort that were worshipped in Malaysia and Thailand. It's not really like Bomo or things, black magic or anything like that. It was also said that the grave diggers who stole her original urn might actually use a spirit for black magic or Bomo, because sometimes Bomo or black magic, they do use like dead infants, feeding them with blood, like baby ghost and things like that, or infants, but no, not for her. So worshippers who come, probably like to show their respect, or she might have answered a couple of prayers of theirs. Maybe she's bestowed them some 4 lucky 4D numbers or Lotto or Toto numbers. There's heaps of like cosmetics, so like Revlon, Maybelline brand, lipsticks and eyeshadow, perfume, powder, anything that you can think of for a young girl of 17 or 18, who would probably like to doll herself up. The shrine is full of these things, so it's pretty quite interesting. This shrine, still exists till this day, but sadly, it's been rebuilt again. So it's lost its original little bit of a creepy, eerie charm of the doll and abandoned toys and makeup and perfume and fruits, and there's also a little kramat, Datuk Kramat, a little rock on the side. It might be the rock from the original granite quarry that they found her body from. But now in the new shrine that they built for her, there is a wooden, carved sculpture of a little girl sitting, and there's still like a little effigies of cherub angels and like rosary beads, but then coupled with flower garlands and incense. So it's like a mismatch of cultures and religion in terms of Catholicism, Taoism, Buddhism. I guess what people believe in, and if it works, so we'll respect that by any chance. So if you someday, if you ever visit Singapore and you want to maybe leave behind the hustle and bustle of crazy, flashing lights and busy and lots of people of Singapore. Obviously not now, with the circuit breaker, happening in Singapore and the COVID-19, that's not going to happen for a while. So maybe, you know, towards the end of this year, or maybe in 2021, if you ever go to Singapore, like to leave behind the hustle and bustle, why not take a ferry? It's just a stone's throw away onto Pulau Ubin Island, and discover the nature like Chek Jawa with its mangroves and, you know, mud skippers and lots of wildlife, and it's much of a protected ecosystem that we have. Also, and you know, stop, maybe rent a bicycle, ride around, and bring yourself to the southwest part of the island, and maybe, you know, there might still be that trace of that spirit lingering of this German girl who, until this day, we do not know who she is, her name, or you know, she's just there. Her presence can be felt, and she's just around, and you know, with her grace, things are still happening to her worshippers, and people are still visiting her little shrine. So maybe just pay a visit, and we'll see, you know, whether will the Barbie or the German girl bestow us with any blessings for the day.
Rest with me, close to curtains, brew some herbal tea.